Hello everyone, it's Merlin here, and today I'm going to bring you another trailer reaction. Now this particular reaction is going to be regarding my thoughts on the new film Ender's Game. I just saw the trailer for it, and I have to confess I'm both somewhat excited and somewhat apprehensive about this film, and I'm going to explain that very shortly. This film is very significant in the sense that it is an adaptation of what is probably one of the greatest science fiction novels written in the past 50 years. Ender's Game is one of the few science fiction stories that really stands alone since the works of Isaac Asimov or even H.G. Wells. It's Orson Scott Card, regardless of his political beliefs, is honestly, in my opinion and many other people's opinions, one of the best science fiction novelists of the 20th century, at least of the last 30 years or so. And almost 30 years after his original novel was created, it is finally going to be adapted into a big budget blockbuster film, with big actors such as Harrison Ford and Ben Kingsley behind it. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, Ender's Game is basically a novel taking place in the far future after mankind was nearly wiped out by an insectoid race, one of the first races that we ever encountered outside of our own galaxy. And due to the crushing defeat that mankind nearly had, they decided that the best way to retaliate and prepare for the next invasion would be to genetically select the best candidates from the population. And these were primarily children. And as some of you might have guessed, one of the highest ranked candidates is a young boy by the name of Ender Wiggin. The novel was very interesting in the sense that it predicted a lot of interesting advancements in technology such as virtual reality, advancements in video gaming, as well as space-age technology. It also provided a lot of great social commentary regarding child psychology, sociological development, and the concept of the corruption of authority and the uncompromising power of propaganda in a culture. It was very cerebral and somewhat dark and rather graphic, and what it's probably best known for are the scenes in which Ender and the other candidates, mostly children in their early teens, are fighting in these massive zero-gravity battles. Basically giant rooms with no gravity, in which these kids more or less try to kill each other. And it basically follows Ender's internal struggle as he deals with a lot of inner conflict regarding his position as a hero in the eyes of many, and the fact that he's still basically a 12-year-old boy, going through a lot of the trials and tribulations that 12-year-old boys usually do. Now, there isn't a whole lot I really can say. I do think that based upon what I've seen, the trailer looks like there's a really big budget behind it. There are some all-star cast members involved in the film, and it definitely seems like it could be promising. However, I have to say that I am a bit concerned because I'm not going to spoil it, because I do highly recommend that if you are interested in all in this film, or if you like science fiction and all and you have not read Ender's Game or any of Orson Scott Card's work, I would definitely say check it out. It's a fairly short read. The problem is, I feel that while this film was being advertised as a big action flick, the truth of the matter is, even though there is a great sense of peril throughout the story, it's not really an action-oriented story. There are only a couple of battles that are really significant that take place in the training, and though there are some near-death experiences, most of them don't involve, shall we say, over-the-top explosions. They're a bit more graphic and involve, well, young children brutally beating each other to death. It's quite graphic. And the truth of the matter is, I feel like that's going to be misrepresenting to the general public what the story is really about, because it's really more of a cerebral story, and it's more about strategy, as well as the characters' internal conflict. So I feel like this film is probably going to be a lot slower, and it's going to be more atmospheric than people are probably thinking. And one of the biggest problems, I think, is that even if they're going to stay true to the heart of the story, I don't know how they're going to make it a really great resolution, because even though it is a great story, it probably has one of the most lackluster endings that I've ever read. Not saying it's a terrible one, but the thing is, though things are wrapped up well, they're wrapped up rather quickly and rather anticlimactically. While in the book this doesn't really matter too much because it's summed up within like a chapter, it's not something that really could be carried through the act of what would seem to be a incredibly hyped up action film as this film was being advertised to be. So I'm a little concerned about that. If any of you have read the story, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't really know if I should be excited for this film. I have a feeling it might be decent, but even if it is, I don't think it's going to do well because I think they're misrepresenting it, either dramatically. For science fiction fans, or even if they're just trying to make it a decent summer block, I think there's a possibility that it's going to be at least a decent film. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the trailer for Ender's Game. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to let me know. This is Merlin, signing out. Peace, everybody.